hurt you.
Stay away from me!
Wendy.
Stay away!
Darling, light of my life. I'm not gonna hurt you. You didn't let me finish my sentence. I said, I'm not gonna hurt you. I'm just gonna bash your brains in. I'm gonna bash them right the fuck in.
Stay away from me!
There is nothing more horrifying than the horrors of our hometown. Welcome to Ghoul Radio Season 2, Episode 1. I am your host, Rob Cortez. We're about to take a journey across the Lone Star State. But before we pack our bags, let's talk about Laredo, Texas. Driving in downtown Laredo, there's several blocks that are familiar faces to those who have grown up in the Gateway City. Some are over 2 centuries old. We drive by them, walk alongside them, and sometimes ignore them in our day-to-day lives. Within the crusted walls, there's history, layered in pain and suffering. In downtown Laredo, you have 2 buildings. One served an important role, the other brought back to life after years of renovations. Our first guest shares the tales of those stories from both buildings that hold the memories of the battles fought, the bloodshed, and the tales that should never be forgotten. That's what ghost stories are all about, pulling you from the world of reality into a world of obscurity. For our first story, we're going to my alma mater, Martin High School. I wasn't into the paranormal in my younger years, but now I am. Here's what I've learned. The grounds where Martin High School stands is where a cemetery laid. The personnel in charge of removing or moving the bodies elsewhere took only the headstones. So you could imagine the sacred grounds were disturbed after the school was built. The rest was laid in haunted history. I remember going to the gym before anyone showed up. Legends say a little girl appears at the gym, walking up and down the bleachers. Some even say they hear her talking, sometimes yelling. It's creepy to say the least, but like I mentioned, when I attended the school, all I wanted to do was listen to good music. Now, I realized I was standing on haunted grounds. Nevertheless, I remember the stories. And now, our special guest.
Hello, Ghouliacs. I'm your host, Rob Cortez, and we have a special guest with us.
Yes, my name is Andrea Ordóñez, and I'm the manager of the Republic of the Rio Grande Museum.
Thank you for accepting my invitation and being part of my show.
Oh, we're really happy to be a part of this.
All right. For starters, can you please tell us a brief history of the Republic of the Rio Grande Museum?
The museum opened in like the 1980s. The Republic of the Rio Grande Museum is a historic house museum, and the structure itself is like the oldest artifact. The building dates to the 1830s. The 3 rooms in the back are the original part of the house, which date to the 1830s. And then the front addition to the museum, which is where you come in through, that was built in 1861. So there we house an exhibit about the Republic of the Rio Grande, and the exhibit talks about why the Republic was formed, who were the key players of this Republic. And of course, the Republic of the Rio Grande, for those that don't know, it was when Laredo and the three northern Mexican states of Nuevo León, Tamaulipas, and Coahuila separated from Mexico and became their own republic. And this happened in January of 1840. Unfortunately, the republic only lasted 283 days. So by November of 1840, it had already been taken over by the Mexican army. But we were our own country for a little bit. And the museum, the house that is where the museum is now, that was the actual Capitol building for the Republic of the Rio Grande. So this is a really interesting bit of history that maybe not a lot of people know, but I think it's very telling of the people of Laredo. So if you want to learn more about the history of the Republic of the Rio Grande, come visit us. We're located at 1005 Zaragoza Street, right next to La Posada Hotel, and right in front of San Agustin Plaza.
Awesome. Yeah, I have to visit you guys. You guys are in Atlas Oscura. It's pretty much an app that lets you know where all the obscure places are in the country and in the world.
Wow, that's good to know. Yeah, that's great.
I'll give you all that information later on.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great to know.
Can you also give us a brief history of Border Heritage Museum?
Yes, of course. Well, the Border Heritage Museum is a little bit more of a contemporary home. And by contemporary, I mean that it's from the early 1900s. So it's a little bit later than the Republic of the Rio Grande Museum. This house is like about 100 years old. It was built in the 1920s, and it belonged to the Montemayor family. And it was one of the wealthier families in Laredo, and they were merchants by trade. And this house was condemned for demolition. As some of you all know, like the downtown, sometimes we have unhoused people, and they would come into this building and it burned down. And it was condemned to be demolished. And the Webb County Heritage Foundation and the County of Webb came in and they saved it. They restored it, and the museum has been open since 2006. So we're almost a 20-year-old museum. We're very happy to be here. We are the property is property of Webb County, but the museum is managed by the Webb County Heritage Foundation. And yeah, we have different kinds of exhibits. We try to have exhibits that are relevant to the history of the border. And one of the favorite exhibits that we have year-round, I think it's the one that people like the most, is a haunted heritage exhibit about the myths and legends of Laredo. So that one, we usually have it starting in October.
It's awesome. Can't wait to check this year's exhibit for sure. All right. That's all the history questions for now. It's time to get into the spooky questions. So,
all right.
Have y'all had any paranormal experiences there in either the Rio Grande Museum or the Border Heritage Museums?
I've had paranormal experiences at both. I started working the museums in 2007. So I've been working for the Webb County Heritage Foundation for 17 years. I only used to work at the Republic of the Rio Grande Museum on Sundays. And when I started working there, the gentleman that worked there, Mr. Rick Villarreal, would tell me, oh, it's haunted. Like, you're going to get scared. And I did. I did get scared. And at first I thought, well, maybe it's just because I'm like thinking about it. But as time passed by, I always felt like some kind of discomfort at the museum. Like I would be sitting at the desk, and I don't know if anybody has experienced this, but it's sometimes like when you're sitting and you feel like someone's staring at you, that they're just like looking at you. So I would be sitting doing my work, and I would feel like somebody was like right behind me, like staring.
Some kind of presence.
Yeah, and it was really heavy. It was so heavy that when we used to come in through the museum from like the kitchen area, like the back part of the museum, and I would walk in, and of course everything is off, so it's really dark, and I would walk in praying like Padre Nuestro que estás en el cielo, like just like running to the front, just because whatever was there, like the energy was really heavy. And so after years of working there and just feeling like this presence, I thought, you know what, I've been here for a while, like why are you bothering me? And so most of the concentration of the energy where it feels really heavy is in the kitchen area. And so I remember I went back to the kitchen area and I just told the entity, I guess if you want to call it, you know, in Spanish, I was like, hey, you know what? I take care of your house. Like, you know me. I've been here for a while. Like, stop bothering me.
Yeah.
And it did. It weirdly stopped bothering me. But there are instances where we still feel it from time to time. I guess maybe we're used to it now. Again, I have been there for a really long time now. But recently, last year, we had a haunted tour, but it was with attached with like a photo workshop with Laredo Film Society and the photographer Gabriel Velasco. And so we were walking around downtown taking photographs of the different buildings as we were telling them the ghost stories. And this is late at night. We're usually never there late at night. And when we got to the museum, as soon as we walked to the museum, the energy felt like really heavy. And I didn't say anything. Like I was like, oh, that just feels like really heavy energy. Like whatever was there was upset. And one of the persons I was taking the tour said, you know what? Like it feels really weird in here.
Yeah.
And we kind of just left it there, didn't say anything, but I looked at my coworker Lalo and we just kind of looked at each other like, wow, you know, it feels really heavy. And we left. And then when we talked about it, we came to the Border Heritage Museum. We finished the tour and I told him, hey, did you feel the vibe at the Republic of the Rio Grande? And he was like, yeah, it felt really weird. And we had to go turn off the lights and everything. And as we walked in to the Republic of the Rio Grande Museum again, it was just like, again, like whatever was there was really upset. And so the next day I kind of went again back to the kitchen and I apologized. I'm like, hey, you know, we're never here this late. We didn't even let you know that we were coming. But yeah, like it felt really, really heavy. Again, I don't want to call it a ghost, but whatever energy is there didn't like that we were there late at night.
Whoa. And this is at the Rio Grande.
Yeah, this was at the Rio Grande.
Okay.
And so at the Border Heritage Museum, one time we had gone, I want to say we had gone to like an exhibit opening at the Laredo Center for the Arts. And we came back to the museum and we were having like a little dance party.
That's so cool.
Listening to some like Michael Jackson and we were like dancing at the museum before leaving. Lalo, my coworker and the manager of the museum, myself and a couple of friends. And we were just there like having a good time and we were dancing like we were following the steps, I want to say, to like Beat It of Michael Jackson.
Nice.
And as we were dancing, me and one of my friends were looking at the screen, but we both kept like looking back because it felt like someone was looking at us. And we both kind of did it at the same time. And Lalo was also like, what's going on here? And so it just kept like that, like a couple of times, and it kind of ruined the vibe. We were like, you know what? Let's just leave because the ghosts didn't like our dancing.
You can't, maybe don't like that song.
Maybe they're just not like a big Michael Jackson fan. And another thing that happened was that I want to say back in like 2020, no, not 2020, 2010, we had an exhibit with the Laredo Paranormal Research Society, and they brought a doll to the museum as part of the exhibit, and it was right below one of the emergency lights here at the museum. And these emergency lights only turn on when the alarm goes off. And so I remember one time we were talking, we were just having a conversation, and the emergency light right on top of the doll just turned on by itself. These emergency lights, when they turn on, they all turn on together because it's letting you know that the alarm is going off. And the only one that turned on was the one that was right on top of the doll. And we couldn't explain why.
Yeah.
We don't know why it happened. I don't think it has happened again, but the doll was right below that light, and we were just having a conversation, and just like, it turned on. So, and it was just one of those things where you're like, what happened? And why did it happen? So we don't really know why it happened. It was a bit of a strange moment. We did freak out a little bit, but again, we try to be respectful of all these things, give them their space and respect. We were just like, okay, well, you know what? Maybe it's time for us to leave for the day. But it's interesting. It's interesting working in the oldest part of the city. Like it is the oldest part of the city, and of course then you have these structures that are like either brick or stone, and I don't know. We feel like, and this is just, I don't know if this is like a theory that people have, but we feel like these structures that have like these porous like materials maybe like hold on to these spirits more than maybe more modern construction elements. But it's been interesting. It's been an interesting time. Yeah.
A lot of spirits tend to attach themselves to maybe these, things around that have been around way before us. So that could be a possibility too.
Yeah. And we also understand that, before, like, people didn't have the same health care, like kids would die very young, like women would die in childbirth, like there was violence, like, at the plaza there was like the shootout of the Botas and Huaraches. So I mean, not that there's not violence now, but it's different. So we understand that there's history there as well. So there is a possibility that something could be there.
Yeah, definitely. What spooky events have you had in the past, either in the Republic of the Rio Grande Museum or the Border or Heritage Museum?
So we started our haunted heritage exhibit at the Border Heritage Museum, if I'm not mistaken, in 2009. So it's been going on for a little bit. And like I mentioned earlier, it is probably the most popular exhibit that we have during the year. People really like coming to learn about these stories. And of course, some of these stories, we present them for like entertainment purposes only, but they are rooted in facts. Like, so these events happened. Whether there is a ghost or not, that's up to people to decide. But like I was saying, there's mention that sometimes they see a gentleman at the plaza that's dressed in like clothes from like the 1800s. And of course we know that there was a shootout of the Botas and Huaraches. They say that there's a priest that they see coming out of the church, and unfortunately, yes, a priest did die outside of the church in that same shootout of the Botas and Huaraches. So these stories are rooted in fact, like on things that happened. And people might have a paranormal experience, they might not. I know some people are more sensitive to things like that. So we have had this exhibit since like about 2009. It has changed throughout the years. We've added things, we have removed things. People, of course, come and tell us their stories. Sometimes we don't have a certain school and people tell us, why isn't my school there? Because most schools have a ghost story. So yeah, it's been interesting. And of course it's interesting to learn from other people, their stories. Aside from the haunted heritage exhibit, we did used to host some trolley tours, like some guided tours on a trolley, but unfortunately the trolley is no longer available to us. The trolley is part of El Metro, the public transportation of Laredo, and it has a permanent route that we cannot disrupt. We won't disrupt it. It has a route that they take every day, and us borrowing it would of course change those schedules. And we know that people depend on public transportation, so it's not available to us. But we have also hosted regular haunted tours in the past. And with the pandemic, to take these tours, but of course, with all the changes that happened, we had to find a way to offer them without putting people in danger. And so we created a self-guided walking tour that people can take. They just have to come pick up a map at one of our locations at the Border Heritage Museum or the Republic of the Rio Grande Museum. And it's a brochure, it's a trifold with a map. And basically what you do is you call a number and then you follow the prompts and you use your phone. And if you don't want to walk it, you can connect your phone to your Bluetooth and you can drive around. And the advantage of this free self-guided walking tour is that you can take it any day at any time of the day. So you're not subject to our hours of operation. Like if you go pick it up at our museum and you want to come back at 10 p.m., you can do so. So that is one of the most recent things that we have done. And of course, the highlight, I think, for many people during the year is our movies on the patio. So I want to say that we've hosted these for more than 10 years. I don't remember the exact date when we started hosting these. I want to say maybe like 2012. We started hosting movies on the patio of the Border Heritage Museum. And our focus is vintage movies, vintage horror movies that maybe people haven't seen, or if they have seen, they're like cult classics or things that they enjoy. And so we've shown everything from the Wolfman to Godzilla movies. We've shown Mexican movies as well. We've shown like Santo movies, gosh, like Dracula and House on Haunted Hill. And this year we're doing a Frankenstein double feature. So we're doing The Bride of Frankenstein on October 4th, and then we're doing Son of Frankenstein on October 11th. So it's going to be Friday, October 4th, Friday, October 11th. We tell you can get here at 7:30. We're gonna have vendors as well, like arts vendors, and we're working on food vendors as well that will be here selling their art. So if you want to get here earlier, you can do that as well. People can bring in their own food and drinks if they like, but of course we want people to support local vendors as well. So this event is free and open to the public. We have tables and chairs. And yeah, we just want people to come and have a good time here in downtown Laredo. I think it's a great event. It's outside. Hopefully the weather won't be as hot anymore in the next couple of weeks. But if not, still, we'll have some cold drinks.
Hopefully there's a lot of spirits around to make it cold.
Right. Yeah, it's a good time. It's a good time anyways, but hopefully, it'll be not as much at least.
I hope so. I love the cold.
Yeah. Yes. No. Before I used to be like, no, I love the summer, and now I'm like, you know what? No. I'm waiting. I am waiting for it to get a little bit cold. I'm desperate to wear a sweater. I just want to wear a nice warm sweater.
Hoodie season is my favorite. All right. That's great news. Do you have a personal paranormal experience that you would like to share with us?
Yeah. Well, I know a lot of people are very skeptical about paranormal activity. I don't think I've been skeptical, and I don't want to say that I'm, I guess a lot of people call them ghosts, right? But I guess I would say more like it's energy. When I was younger, I grew up in Laredo, so I lived over there for 16 years. I moved to Laredo in 2002 when I was 16 years old. And at my house in Laredo, we used to be a one-story house, and then my parents built an addition, like a second floor. And I remember one night I was being a teenager, right? Got mad at something and slammed the door to my room, and I locked it. I locked the door to my room, and it slammed very loudly, so it was closed. And I locked it. I remember locking it. I saw it locked. And I was there throwing my temper tantrum. Everything is terrible, all the feelings of being a teenager. And a little bit later, I heard a knock on the door, a very loud, knock on the door, and the door opened. And I remember I was so upset that I swung the door open, and I was like, what? What do you want? And there was nobody there. And so then I was already upset, and then I started who's opening my door, leave me alone, blah blah blah. And the rest of my family was downstairs, so there was no way anybody ran upstairs, opened my door, and then ran back downstairs. So I thought that was really weird. We were all a little freaked out. But you kind of just leave it, right? Maybe the door wasn't really locked, something happened. I don't know. We didn't know how to explain it. But after that day, up until the day that we moved out, every day around the same time, somebody would knock on my door and it would open. And I would always lock the door, and at some point I was like, oh, you're already here. What's up? At first it was a little scary, but then, nothing ever really happened. And I don't know why that all of a sudden started happening, what triggered it. But yeah, after that, every day at the same time, there would be a knock on my door and it would open.
It became a paranormal habit.
Yeah, every day at the same time. Same knock, 3 times, knock, knock, knock.
Well, 3
open.
times.
Yeah.
Sounds
demonic.
Yeah. The professionals say.
Yeah. So I can't explain it. I don't know what happened there. It continued going on for a while, and I just stopped thinking about it. It was just something that happened. So I think that's one of the probably the most memorable thing that's happened to me. And of course, now that I work at the museum, it's
Yeah,
like, oh,
you're
whatever.
pretty much around it every day.
It's like whatever, it's okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, like I say, it's if there is something, we're not gonna try to like disrespect it or bother it or whatever. I mean, whatever it is, it's like, you know what? You do your thing, I do my thing. We're good.
What do you want to tell the skeptics about the paranormal?
I think people should keep an open mind. Like I know that this stuff, people maybe don't understand it, or they don't like it, or maybe just because they've never experienced it, they might not think it's real. Like, and that's fine. I'm not judging anybody for their beliefs. I'm not the kind of person to be, like, no, it's because you need to believe in it. It's I think it's personal experience what influences these beliefs. But yeah, try not to be judgmental about the people that do believe it. Some people have had, very innocent experiences. Some people have had horrible experiences. And I know I'm not making it up. Like, something weird happened to me. And again, it's like, I don't know if it's paranormal. It's definitely not normal. It's strange. So yeah, just keep an open mind about it. It's you never know if it'll ever happen to you. Maybe it won't, maybe it will, but if you keep an open mind and try not to be judgmental to the people that it has happened to. I know some people feel very strongly about uh paranormal activity. Some people are very, very sensitive to it as well. And like I say, it's like I like to think of it of energy. Like, energy moves everything, and sometimes maybe these energies can move from this realm or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
So yeah, just keep an open mind and don't be judgmental about it. Let's respect each other, and yeah, keep an open mind.
Another story I remember was about a school named Alma Pierce Elementary. There's a restroom at that school that has been closed for years. The reason for it being closed was because the legend says that on Halloween night, two girls did a prank on a friend of theirs that turned deadly wrong. Those two girls locked their friend in the restroom. Hours later, the parents of the poor girl who was locked in the restroom went looking for her. They caught up with the two other girls who confessed everything. So when the parents and the cops went back to the school to find the missing girl, she had vanished. All that was left were her shoes and clothes, lying in a pool of blood. These are stories, legends, found deep within our city. A small portion of a larger tale we hope to uncover. Thanks to our special guest, Andrea Ordóñez, for joining us. You can check out Laredo's rich history at both the Webb County Heritage Museum and the Republic of the Rio Grande Museum. It's time to pack our bags and hit the road, heading north to a familiar place with some unfamiliar tales. Laid deep into the obscure, join us for episode 2, where we visit one of the most haunted cities in the state of Texas, and then head to West Texas, home of the tallest peaks, where the mountains have stored for centuries tales of pain, horror within the deeply haunted majestic sights.